Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone to Razor Sharpe Picks. And guys, perfection has happened. Ladies and gentlemen, it's like throwing a perfect game. Ryan, last week, how's it feel?
Oh, it feels good, man. We talked about last week, and hey, give yourself some credit too, right? Two losses straight up is not a bad week at all. We talked about trends are starting to develop, right? These teams are starting to get a little bit easier to read against the spread, home away splits, all that stuff starting to take shape. So this is kind of where we start to really make some money here as we roll into the midway part of the season.
So I just recently, this season, found the reactions part of Melon, which we use for our live stream. So let's give ourselves a round of applause real quick.
Ooh, little sound effects. Nice.
Yeah. We pitch in for the big bucks here. Yeah. So a perfect week straight up for Ryan. And like he said, I didn't do so bad myself, only having the 2 losses. But guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, like this video, leave a comment, give us your picks and your predictions. Can you do the unthinkable and go undefeated? Because Ryan, if you would have bet all 14 of those picks, even if you would have done them individually, would come out pretty nicely. If you would have done a 14-leg parlay, though, you might not be here this week.
Let's not talk about it. Yeah, let's not talk about it.
Yeah, let's move on from that. We don't want to mention that. You do see the units as well for our parlays. You also finished up a unit last week, so congratulations there, putting you still in the black for the season. I continue my trend, which isn't a good one, but at least we're consistent. By the way, guys, didn't even mention it. My name's Joe. Next to me, Ryan, or that's below me now. But thank you for joining us on #sports. And before we get into that, if you were going to bet that parlay, Ryan, you would use Bet DSI. Guys, Bet DSI, teaming up with #sports this season. Great promo offers all season long, including if you're a first-time depositor, use promo code HTAG, and they will match 120% of your deposit up to $1,000. That's free money that you can do whatever you want with. If you want to nail a parlay, if you want to go ahead and bet these teams against the spread or straight up, Ryan and I got you covered all season long. So go to Bet DSI, link in the description below. So like I said, you see us last week, and due to your impressive week last week, not just straight up, but against the spread as well, you see I struggle against the spread. We are both tied in both straight up and against the spread right now. So pretty impressive. I like, 55 and 37 straight up. I think that's pretty good. And 48 and 44, we're still on the plus side, and that's all that matters.
That's right. All you got to do is win more than you lose, and you're in good shape when it comes to betting.
Yeah, when it comes to betting against the spread, just win more than you lose. Straight up, it gets a little trickier, right? Because you talk about odds and stuff. But 14-0, you win. So let's go 14-0 again. We can't both go 14-0 this week, but if one of us can get the job done, let's do that. The bye weeks this week, we had 4 last week, only 2 this week. The Bears and the Dallas Cowboys. Man, rough being a Cowboys fan right now. Rough being a Cowboys radio host, too, apparently. Apparently you just can't win at all. If you didn't hear, Jerry Jones was on one of the radio shows threatening to fire the host. Ryan, did you hear about this?
Yeah, he crashed out, man. That was like a full-blown crash out. And, to his credit, give Jerry Jones some credit. He's one of the few owners that is consistently willing to talk to the media. And I mean, we haven't heard from Terry Pagula when it pertains to the Bills. Of course, now this documentary, which is a whole other story that he's decided to put out through the Bills. But I mean, we haven't heard him talk about the Bills since what? It's been at least 6 seasons, I think. So credit to Jerry. But yeah, that was a crash out, man. He's in a. It happened on his birthday too. So you got to give him that to take into account.
Yeah.
Perfect time for a bye week.
It's credit to Jerry, but also every owner who doesn't talk looks at that and says, "Yeah, that's why we don't say nothing. We don't need to get involved in any of this." So yeah, it was actually a pretty funny back and forth. If I was the radio host, I don't know what my paycheck is, so you know what, maybe I wouldn't. But at the same time, you gotta step up because that is your job. That's why the owner comes on the show, so you can talk about those type of things. But moving on, we're gonna move on to actual football. talk about these games. And the first one of those happens tomorrow night in New Orleans. The New Orleans Saints going against the Denver Broncos. We both go separately here. Obviously, we both picked the under because, neither one of us believe that this game is going to score that many points. I truly believe it's going to be tough to see points being scored, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, especially now the news, Raheed Shaheed is out indefinitely with the right knee injury and surgery that he had today. So Spencer Rattler against Bo Nix, like hard pass on this. I wouldn't want to watch those two lock up when they were in college, and I certainly don't want to do it in the pros. So this will be one where, maybe tuning into the Sabres game, maybe some playoff baseball going on, but something other than football tomorrow night.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, the Sabres, I don't know if you watched Sabres tonight, but man, it was a heartbreaker, 6-5 in overtime after having a 3-1 lead. But for me, I like the Saints in this matchup for two reasons. One, because I'll take Alvin Kamara, in the matchup where I don't trust either quarterback. All right, let's look at the running backs, and I think that the Saints are better off there than the Broncos. Number two, and I talked about this in previous episodes of Very Sharp Picks, and I'll continue to harp on this. It's not a 100% guarantee, and I won't treat it as such, but we're getting into midway to the season, and the players are hurt. Even if they're not out of games, they're bruised up, they're banged up. To have a short week and then to have to travel in that week makes it just that much tougher. So in these type of matchups where I don't like either team, or maybe it's a game where I like both teams, I'm probably going to lean a little bit more towards the home team.
Yeah, that's completely fair. You talk about the two time zone difference with Denver, short week, rookie quarterback. A little bit under appreciated this week. Sean Payton's return to New Orleans, so maybe he's got a little something special cooked up for the Saints. But it's going to be a tough one to watch.
Yeah, this is one of those weeks where if you don't have Amazon Prime, you're all right that you didn't pay for it. That's all right. This isn't the game to highlight.
This isn't the week. This isn't the week to start the free trial. No,
that's right. Absolutely not. So then you go to Sunday, and the Jaguars back to back on their London trip. And to be honest with you, I trouble with the spread for that reason, right? I think that the Jaguars, as we saw last year, because they played the Buffalo Bills in that second game, and the Jaguars came out on top. I think that this game is a low-scoring game, and that's really the ultimate reason why I picked this spread to be covered by 5.5, because you could have put this spread at 37.5, and I probably still would have taken the under.
Yeah, this one's a tough one, right? Because you saw some flashes from Jacksonville, you saw some bad turnovers from Jacksonville. You got Drake May at the helm this week. What's Ramondre Stevenson's health situation look like? He did travel with the team, so he could play. I think there's a lot up in the air on this one, but when push comes to shove, I'll take the team that's been in London for the last 2 weeks, so to get a little bit acclimated. And when it came to the spread, one of them's 2-4 against the spread. One of them's 1-4-1. Right. I'll take the one that's 2-4 against the spread. And I think the Jaguars cover by a touchdown.
Yeah, I also look. Drake May actually had the most passing yards against the Texans so far this year, and that includes some pretty big competition. So maybe see more. I remember when he was drafted on draft day, I thought that May was going to be a better quarterback than Williams in his NFL career. Now that he's with New England, I hope I'm wrong, but you never know what could happen. So then you go on to the 1 o'clock games, and we're going to start with our Buffalo Bills back in that 1 o'clock time slot. Only the second game this season. Third game, because the Arizona game was 1 o'clock. My apologies. Third game this season where they are in the 1 o'clock time slot. You see the Buffalo Bills 2-0 at home. You see the Titans 1-1 on the road. And that's kind of what I went with here. The Titans just a bad football team, right?
Oh yeah, I mean this is a really bad football team. The Bills, coming off of what one would consider a hard-fought, ugly victory. But they're getting healthier, right? They're getting healthier on defense. Khalil Shakir should see some increase in snaps this week. I wouldn't be surprised if James Cook is back, and with the confidence that they now have in Ray Davis after his a great game that he had last week. Yep. Should absolutely see kind of like a committee backfield situation, which only helps against a bad defense. And you got to think Amari Cooper is going to get some snaps. I know Paul talked about it on hashtag. He got in and did the kind of the special alert video, but Amari Cooper's a big addition. And they heard in the press conference today, they talked about kind of seeing what he does well and maybe trying to tailor some things to him for Sunday. What can we run based on what he runs well, ease him into the playbook. But I mean, the press conferences today, this Bills team seems pretty jacked up about the addition, and I think that's going to carry into the football game. And this is one where an opportunistic defense against a bad quarterback and a team coming home for the first time in 4 weeks, I think is going to be a big lift for this team.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with all of that. The over-under is a little tough for me. I picked the over, but the Bills are scoring all the points in this game, right? Like if Tennessee scores more than 13 points, I might be a little disappointed in this defensive performance. But yeah, I do.
Yeah, I actually have this one 28 to 13. So
okay, perfect. Yeah, exactly. So then that would just barely cover that over, but that's all it takes. So hopefully the Bills come out and we said this in the post game, a little bit of a get right game, because even though you won Monday, it didn't look like a win, man. It didn't feel like a win. Going to an NFC matchup between the Atlanta Falcons and the Seattle Seahawks. Again, we have this going the same way. Money line, we see a little bit different on the spread here. I think that this is going to be a close game. And I know last time I called for this, it turned out to be a blowout. But if you told me that the spread was 3 and I could bet on that number, I could see this being a 3-point game.
Yeah, I think this is one that really could go either way. Seattle's got a great offense. Atlanta's pass defense, however, is pretty solid. Running the ball, I think, is how Seattle's going to win this football game. We get into that a little bit during the parlays and the straight bets. But I think this one, I'll give it to the home team.
Sure.
Yeah, I think Atlanta's good. Especially these West Coast teams going east for 1 o'clock kickoffs. Those are tough acclimations to make. So that's kind of why I'm going with Atlanta in both phases on this one.
Yeah, and everyone talks about the time changes. It's a lot different. East going west seems to be not as big of a factor as west coming east. And we have that here in this matchup. And yeah, I could see that being the reason why you would go with the -3. Both have the under in this game. I agree with Ryan as far as I think Seattle especially, but both teams here are going to run the ball. And that's just going to lead to a low-scoring game, in my opinion. Speaking of what I think is going to be low-scoring games, Nick Chubb comes back supposedly for the Browns in this game. So that's why I have the under here, but I still think the Bengals have enough firepower on offense to get the job done.
Yeah, we talked about this one on the post game, Joe. This is the game that Ohio deserves right now. The 2-4 Bengals and the 1-5 Cleveland Browns. I don't know where the offense comes from Cleveland if it's not Nick Chubb, right? Cooper's gone. Njoku's banged up. Deshaun Watson's not good. And then on the Bengals side of the football, this Browns defense has not been playing too bad, if not for being on the field all the time. So I think that this is an opportunity for the Browns to get after Joe Burrow a little bit. That offensive line is banged up. They're going to try and run the football as well to take the pressure off it. But I think the Bengals run away and hide on this one. I think it's a big game from Jamar Chase and a big game probably from Chase Brown, and that's all she wrote with Cleveland struggling to even score a touchdown.
Yeah, I don't think Nick Chubb coming back gives them a chance to win this game. I think it gives them a chance to play keep away, just a little bit of keep away.
Yeah, I mean, unless he's the Terminator and he snaps off a big run early in the game, but other than that, I don't know how they get in the end zone.
Yeah, because this is his first game back too. So how many snaps is he actually going to see? So that's gonna be interesting to watch as well.
But they've got injuries. I mean, Jerome Ford's injured. So he's gonna have to get carries, and that's not a recipe for success, I don't think.
No. Poor guy. They're like, oh, welcome back, 30 carries. You're healthy. You won't be after this game, so it's fine. Going from that game, which no one should be looking forward to see, to a game that everyone should be looking forward to see. This is going to be a fun one. I know that Ryan and I see this both going the same way as far as it being in Green Bay. Jordan Love getting his groove back with those wide receivers. Everything clicking, it seems like, for the Green Bay Packers at the right time. And the Houston Texans come in with some injuries, obviously with Collins and others. And it's just not a good time to see the Texans. But I still think this is going to be a great game.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great game, too. I mean, the Texans aren't going to be able to run the ball on Green Bay like they were able to run the ball on New England last week.
Right.
And Jair Alexander always has something to say about the passing game. He has historically shut down Stephon Diggs in games that the two have played against each other. It'll be interesting to see how they play this Houston Texans offense, but I think Green Bay is has an opportunity here to finally answer the question, who's the best team in the NFC, because there's a lot of question marks around that right now. If they beat Houston and they beat them convincingly, I think everyone has to say that Green Bay is the best team in the NFC, despite the undefeated team in their own division.
Yeah, because right now I think by standings, Green Bay is last in that division, aren't they? Like everyone's.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
By standings, I think the Green Bay's last in that division, and so it's amazing that the Bills winning their division kind of comfortably right now at 4-2, and then you see the Packers at 4-2, and they're like, oh yeah, we're in last place. So, but yeah, I agree with you. If Green Bay wins that game in any, I would say by 7 or more, I think that that's convincingly enough to say that they are clearly the best team in the NFC right now. Coming back to the AFC East opponent for the Buffalo Bills, you have the Miami Dolphins, who are just struggling. I mean, they look so bad right now at times. Going into Indianapolis, playing against the Colts, and we both see it's going the same way. You have the over. I have the under. Again, I see this game, and I just see a hard time finding points. Although I think Anthony Richardson, if I'm not mistaken, is back for this game.
Yeah, he is. They announced it today that he's back. He's going to start. This came after I had made the pick.
Sure.
Not really sure if I would have stuck with it if I knew Anthony Richardson was playing, because I don't know if the offense has that pop with him. But it's possible Jonathan Taylor's back this week as well, and if that's the case, I feel pretty good about the pick. That Miami is just an unmitigated disaster without Tua. Like, they are in complete spiral mode, barely beating New England in their last game. They're coming off a bye. It's just not a recipe for success, I don't think, this week for Miami.
Yeah, and like you said, there's something that you have to look at. Look at Miami against the spread, 1-4. Look at the Colts against the spread, 5-1. That tells you the story of the season for both these teams. You can look at records, you can say what you want, but look against the spread, and that kind of gives you the formula. And as we said before, and as we'll continue to say as the season progresses, these teams are starting to show who they are. And that you can take that into your Vegas, into BetDSI, and do with it what you will. But remember, bet responsibly. Going to another fun game. We talked about the Green Bay Packers. Now you stay in the NFC North for a game that's going to be amazing. And you look at this slate of games, Ryan, the Week 7 1 o'clock games especially, a lot of good ones, and this one included.
Yeah, this might be the game of the weekend when things are all said and done. And, Detroit coming off that just absolutely massive win over Dallas, just flat out embarrassed Dallas. Yeah. Minnesota coming off the bye week. I think that's probably the difference in this one. If you had to ask me, I think Detroit's going to get out quick. They had the warm up last week. Minnesota sat stagnant. I think Minnesota may come a little slow out of the gates. And it just comes down to weapons and quarterback, right? Like, I'll take the Detroit weapons. I'll take the Detroit quarterback. Minnesota's a good football team, but I think I'm still waiting for the wheels to come off the Sam Darnold wagon. So we'll see how things go. But until they beat like a really good football team, I'm gonna continue to go with Detroit over Minnesota.
Absolutely. I did just get a phone call from Jerry Jones, though. You calling Dallas a warm up. I think you're fired. I think you just lost.
All right, fine.
But I mean, speaking of the Lions, I also think that they're gonna have a little bit of an emotional lift playing for Hutchinson now after that gruesome injury last week. Obviously, nothing but the best for him. I was watching. I forget which game I was watching. But they talked to the sideline reporter from that game, and she said you could hear it snap from the sideline, and that's just scary to think about. That's just disgusting to think about.
Yeah.
And then I think it was Paul who mentioned this, like to talk about the seriousness of the injury. They had a 1 o'clock game. I'm pretty sure, and you can tell me if I'm wrong because I wasn't watching this game. He was injured in the second half, correct?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, it was the 4 o'clock game. I don't know.
Oh, it was the 4 o'clock.
Yeah, and I know Paul said it was the 1 o'clock game, but it was the late game, and he got injured. I want to say early in the second half, early in the third quarter, and he was like in and out of surgery like shortly after the game was over. Right. That's how quickly they got him in for surgery. It was kind of like the Alex Smith situation. It kind of reminded me of that, except there wasn't the compound part of the fracture. So hopefully hopefully it turns out better than the Alex Smith situation because that ended his career. But certainly thoughts and hopefully Aiden Hutchinson, he's a fun player to watch, man. And he was on a defensive player of the year type pace before the injury. So certainly hope he's back and at it quick.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw Detroit on the schedule this year for the Bills, I was like, yeah, that's gonna be problems.
Yeah.
And obviously we're not gonna play against him now, but this Detroit team still gonna be problems for a lot of teams. And now playing with that extra motion going into the rest of the season, I think that's gonna be something to look out for. But yeah, give me the Lions to win this one. Staying in the NFC, staying with a divisional matchup, and classically actually kind of a good divisional matchup, right? Like even when these two teams when one's really good and one's bad, they seem to play close games. Now, Ryan and I both see the Eagles covering the spread in this game, but don't be surprised if the Giants give it a test at least.
Yeah, this was another one that was tough to pick because, to your point, Joe, this is going to be a good game, but I think it's just going to be a good game between two bad football teams. Like, sure. I don't think the Eagles are particularly good either. But someone's got to win this division, right? And like the Jets or the Giants are a game out of first place right now. Like if they win Sunday, they might be in first place in the division, depending on what happens in the game with the Commanders. Yep. But the Eagles are, I guess AJ Brown's back, and I guess that's kind of the difference maker for me. Yeah. AJ Brown's back. Saquon Barkley's coming back to New York for the first time since the trade. So or since the free agent signing. I think the Eagles are the better football team. I just don't know how good either of these football teams are. So it would not surprise me if the Giants win this football game.
Yeah, no, you're right. And you look at this division, and I heard this last week, and you wonder, can the Washington Commanders be the best team in this division? Can the Washington Commanders win this division? And that becomes a question that we have to ask ourselves. Now, I do expect either Dallas or Philadelphia to get it right, just because I think that's what we're used to over the past 5-6 years. Like so you just assume that's going to happen. But there's no telling if it actually will or not. You see Nick Sirianni yelling at his own fan base. What was that about?
Guy's a lunatic, man.
Yeah,
he's got to go.
If I was an Eagles fan and living close to Philadelphia like I do, that's the impression that I get. Like, you need to get rid of that guy. And he might have been a spark plug when he started off, but now it just seems like he's draining that team more than he's helping that team. And that becomes a problem quick, especially from the coaching room. And maybe even, Jalen Hurts is not that elite guy that we, just last year we're talking he might be. But yeah, someone has to win this game. Someone has to win this division. Give me the Eagles to win this one. And we'll talk more about this game when we go to our props as well. I always find it interesting. And we'll talk about this in a little bit, but our props sometimes aren't that far away from each other. Like, we both have the same mind, our minds go in the same direction. We just think a little differently. So that's kind of fun to watch. Moving on to, and we just talked about Washington, 4:00 slate now. The Washington Commanders are at home playing against the Carolina Panthers. And you and I both agree on this one. Carolina is just in disarray as well. And you're seeing that 1-5 strip, 1-5 against the spread, just not looking good at all. I think Washington comes out. The only thing, and I was debating this. Washington, even though they're better than what we're used to, are they still good enough to give 8 points? I just don't know if they're that good. And that's just the question you ask yourself. The only reason why I took it was because they are playing the Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, one of the stats that I didn't put up here is in their 6 games this year, the Commanders have the over has hit in 5 of their 6. So that's kind of where I went. I struggled, right? Should I take the under on this one instead of the over? You obviously went the over. Yep. I think they're good enough, and I think the Panthers are bad enough to get 8 points. The Andy Dalton lift lasted like a quarter and a half, maybe. They're in Carolina. They're a disaster. Jaden Daniels is terrific. Their offense seems to be clicking on all cylinders right now. This one's going to be over early, and I'm not even sure if it's going to reach any televisions, whether it's red zone or not. Like, this one's just going to be over fast, I think.
I think this could be one of those games where, if you are in one of these areas and you're forced to get this game by halftime, they're like, we're going to switch you over to this game instead. So enjoy the second half of whatever game you're watching if you are forced to watch this game for the first half. But the 4:00 hour is all about this game. I think there's only 3 games at 4:00 this week, which is kind of rare. They normally have 4 or 5. But I think there's only 3. And this game is going to be the game watched by most of the nation. This is the game that Tom Brady will do. So if you haven't heard Tom Brady yet, you'll get to see and hear exactly what everyone's talking about when they talk about how awful he's doing so far. But this one, I think, it could be a fun one to watch. I'm not as excited about this game as some of the 1:00 games, but you look at the 2 names and you obviously there's a lot of things to watch for.
Yeah, I mean Patrick Mahomes, he has not played great this season. That offense is not playing super great right now. They're still trying to figure out their running back situation. Kareem Hunt's like the corpse of Kareem Hunt is back to be a running back for them. And then on the other side of the football with San Francisco, they're down to their fourth running back, I think, third or fourth running back right now. With with Mason looking like he's trending towards being out, but their receiving core is getting healthier, right? Ayuk is back at full strength, Kittle's back, and he's an absolute machine right now. It sounds like Samuel is good to go this week, so they've got like a full complement of weapons. And because Mahomes has been timely in turnovers this season, and it's been like the defense has been good enough, I think this is the best offense that Kansas City is going to see so far this season, at least. And that's the difference for me. Give me the home team. Give me the team that didn't have to travel. And give me the team that ultimately has more weapons, even though I usually will take Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes in almost any fight. In this one, I'll take the weapons that San Francisco has to offer.
Sure. And in this game, to me, even though it says I got the under, looking into this more, I should have taken the over in this game simply because, first of all, for me, the reason why I'm taking the Chiefs is simply Mahomes and Andy Reid off of a bye, right? Like that to me gives them a little bit of an edge. They can figure stuff out. You give an offensive genius like Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and some dudes. And I'm just like, give them 2 weeks to figure it out. Something's happening, right? They're scoring points. But if you look on the other side of the ball, Kansas City, one of the worst teams this season against the tight ends. You think about what Likely did to them in week 1, almost had 2 touchdowns, was a toe tap away from having 2 touchdowns in the game-winning one in that game. You look at, Kyle Pitts had a decent game against them. Like they've given up some big games to tight ends. And again, we'll talk about this in a little bit. I think George Kittle is on track to have a big game this week. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Again, it is the main game in the 4 o'clock hour, so we will be watching it. It should be an entertaining game. I think the Chiefs, again, just hard to say. For me, it was just hard to get over the fact that you have Reid and Mahomes coming off a bye. And I think that will be the deciding factor for me. But I would not be surprised at all if you see Kittle come down with 2 touchdowns, 100 yards, and this San Francisco defense step up when they need to. Because if we're talking about must-win games week 7, San Fran needs this game. Kansas City wants this game. San Fran needs this game. And and this would be a huge statement as far as San Fran saying, we're still one of the best teams in the NFC and in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, Kansas City's a game clear of the AFC right now. I mean, they don't need to win this football game in any way, shape, or form. I mean, it comes into, common opponent tiebreakers, which is pretty far down the list considering Kansas City is going to play They've already played Baltimore and beaten them. They're going to play Buffalo later this year. Like, they're not super worried about getting down to, like, the 4th tiebreaker, which I think common opponent is, But San Francisco, they're chasing the division and they're chasing the conference right now. And, you're absolutely spot on there, Joe. This is – and you see it by the spread, right? Like, this is a legit pick'em game right now. San Francisco's a point favorite, but they're also the home team, so that kind of makes Kansas City like a half a point favorite. So this is truly just like a toss it up in the air, and Vegas isn't sure who's going to win.
Yeah, and you see that because the underdog is even money. The underdog's even money, so they're saying, no, this is very much a pick'em. So moving on, then you got the last 4 o'clock game, and again, just like the first 4 o'clock game, and not too many eyeballs are going to be on this one, as you have the Las Vegas Raiders going into LA and playing the Rams. Again, you look at the spread, and for me, this was one of those games where I looked at how the Rams have done against the spread, and you're 1-4. Now the Raiders not much better, but you're 1-4, and you're giving up 7 points. Like that's a lot in that situation. I think the Rams are going to win this game. They'll find a way, but I don't know how they're scoring a lot of points. So give me the Raiders to cover.
Yeah, I mean this is like this week's version of a slap fight between two teams. Like the Raiders, they're coming off the Devontae Adams move. Just offensively, they looked really bad last week. Their only offensive weapon right now seems to be Brock Bowers. And he's playing well, right? Like he's tight end 2 when it comes to fantasy, but that's to the tune of like 55 yards a game and 6 catches. So what does that really equal? He's only gotten in the end zone once all season. On the other side of the football, you've got Kyren Williams, and Kyren Williams has the ability to score 2-3 times in a football game. and give me Matt Stafford against Aiden O'Connell. I think that's what this one comes down to for me.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree with that. But yeah, it's funny. I was watching the Raiders tight end and Bowers, and I'm like, is that like Scott Chandler when the Bills were in the drought? Like he would do well, like yeah, but he's just some guy. Like it's not a big deal. Bills fans were so excited for nobody. Going on to the Sunday night football game, and I'm kind of surprised here. I mean, I get it. The Adams thing is exciting for a lot of people, but I think you and I are in the same boat. And this is coming, I think both you and I try to do a good job, especially on this show, of being as unbiased as possible, right? I mean, you saw me earlier this year. I picked Arizona to beat Buffalo week 1. Like, I'm trying not to just completely be a homer. But I look at the Adams deal for the Jets, and I say, in order for Adams to really get involved, Aaron Rodgers needs to be able to hold on to the ball to give him time to run his routes. And that's just something that Aaron Rodgers hasn't done this season. And that's not saying that it's Aaron Rodgers' fault. This offensive line is still his offensive line. And I don't know if Devontae Adams is going to have as big of an impact, especially his first game there, as people think he might.
Yeah, and you've got TJ Watt, who makes it very difficult for anyone to hang on to the football for any length of time. The Steelers are good against the run. The Jets have struggled to run the football. The Steelers run the ball really well. The Jets have struggled to run the football or to stop the run. It's just I will be interested to see, now that they've announced that it looks like Russell Wilson will not be starting. I wonder what that does to the line. Is this line because they're like, well, Russell Wilson's going to make his first start of the season. We haven't seen him yet. We don't know what he looks like. He's going to bang off the rust. So, Joe, when they announced today that it looks like he's got an outside chance to even dress, let alone start, I'm interested to see what this line does over the next couple of days and whether or not by kickoff the Steelers are favorites. I jumped on them at +2 because I think they're going to wind up kicking this one off as favorites.
Right. Yeah, because you think about this, like the Steelers at home, Mike Tomlin against the spread at home. I think that there are so many things going the Steelers' way. And like you said, this defense is just scary good at times. And listen, here we are, beginning of the season. Remember, beginning of the season, the Steelers were last in the division as far as chances to win it, right? As far as the odds makers. And we looked at that and we said, you can't ever count a Mike Tomlin team. And here they are, 4-2, 4-2 against the spread as well. And they're looking pretty good. Now, can they compete with a team like the Ravens? I don't know. But they don't seem to have to worry about Cincinnati and Cleveland right now. And so this team could easily surprise us even more and make a run. And it could be starting with this game here. Again, we know what the Steelers like at home, and we're going to see a whole bunch of terrible towels. And this is one, I'm not going to lie, this is one I am looking forward to watching. This will be
a good game.
This should be a good game. And this to me is, as someone who does love defense, this to me should be like a defensive chess match, and I look forward to watching it.
Yep.
Then you go back to Monday Night Football, and Ryan, I think we've talked about this before. But
two Monday night games this week, by the way.
The 2 Monday night game thing, just get it away from me. Like, I don't want anything to do with the 2 Monday night game thing. Obviously, listen, what it comes down to is dollars, and I'm sure that the NFL is making more dollars by having 2 NFL games, even though they start less than an hour apart from each other. But I'm not a fan. But it's amazing how little the NFL cares about my opinion. So we're going to go to the first one, the much better of the 2 games, in my opinion, the Baltimore Ravens at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Ryan, we see this one completely different. I like Baker. I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home. You like the Ravens, who are looking really hot right now. So I can see why you picked them.
Yeah, this was another one that was tough, right? Tampa isn't great against the run. Obviously, we know what Baltimore can do on the running the football. Baker, great stat line, but if you really kind of dig into the numbers, he's had 2 games where he's thrown for more than 200 yards, and those were the games that he hit over 300. So he's kind of got like 2 big games under his belt. I'm not sure. I mean, we'll get into this in the plays and the parlays. I think he might have a good game in this one. I just think this is one that will turn into a shootout, and in those situations, I'm going to take the coach and the quarterback, and that not a lot of cases I'll take Lamar Jackson, but I'll take Lamar Jackson over Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, and you talk about the big game last week, and he did, but also had 3 interceptions, right? So so you got to take the good with the bad a little bit sometimes with Baker Mayfield, and in this game to me, Tampa play a nearly flawless game to win this one. And Baltimore, they could make a couple mistakes and maybe even still win this one. But Tampa Bay cannot have 3-4 turnovers in this one and expect to win it. I just think they're going to clean up their act a little bit. And we're going to see them try, and this is why I picked the under 2. We're going to try to see them, play a little ball control a little bit. You still have to and I know you do, you still have to like their weapons on the outside and what Baker's throwing too. And that those guys can take over at any point. So give me Tampa Bay to win this one because, they're at home and I like them a little bit. But, maybe less than 3.5. But, again, Baltimore's favorite. So I don't care how much they win by. Win by 1. And going on to the second Monday Night Football game on ESPN+, the game I won't be watching, and it's a good thing. Can you imagine if this was switched? Like, how terrible would that be if this was like the primetime one and the good game was the one that's like you can have ESPN or you could have just some random service that you need to get, because pretty soon they're gonna have everything.
Imagine 2 or 3 seasons ago saying you get Justin Herbert, you get Kyler Murray, and nobody wants to watch it.
Yeah, actually, that's pretty amazing because 3 seasons ago you're like, oh, that's awesome. That sounds like a fun matchup. And from a points standpoint, this could be a fun matchup because both these defenses, mid at best, right?
Yeah.
So it could be a high scoring affair if you like points. But I just don't know if this is gonna be an interesting game at all. And that's why, I just looked at this game and I was like, give me the home team, right? Just give me the home team. I don't care. Don't care. But Ryan, you like the Chargers, and I think that's the safe bet.
Yeah, Arizona not doing much of anything lately. Marvin Harrison's banged up. He's not going to play this week. It doesn't look like. Kyler Murray is kind of lost. He's only run for, I think he's run for 24 yards combined the last 2 weeks, which isn't good at all. It's not a time zone change, so the home team doesn't really have too much of an advantage in this one. Right. And then you look at Vegas, Los Angeles, they're 2-1 on the road. The Cardinals are 1-2 at home. So, again, I'll take away the home team, bump that most teams will get. And this one just comes down to better quarterback, better coaching, and I'll give that to the Chargers.
Yeah, because if you take away the home team bump, that means that Vegas is favoring the Chargers by 4, right? Exactly. That means that it's even a bigger spread. That's almost, you might as well take them with the touchdown at that point. But yeah, those are the games of the week. Sorry that ends on such a disappointment, but there are a lot of fun games this week, and we really hope that week 7 kind of provide. I remember just 2 weeks ago how fun that 1 o'clock hour was, right? There was so many games coming out to wire. In fact, it was so fun that this past Sunday seemed like a disappointment because there weren't that many games that were coming down the line. I was like, oh, well, all right, they're all done. They're over. I remember actually at 3:30, I took my kids outside real quick because I was like, well, all these games are done. I'll take you outside. We can play till 4 and then come back in to watch the 4 o'clock games because I ain't missing those. So
that's right.
So yeah, what'd you say?
I said that's right.
Yeah. You gotta get your playtime in when you can on Sundays, but quickly as quick as possible. So we do want to get into our parlays. Before we do that, Ryan, why don't you go ahead and tell the folks about our sponsorships?
Yeah, so guys, make sure you support the people that take care of us, take care of them, and support them as well. So betdsi.eu, they have promo code HTAG, and when you sign up with promo code HTAG, they're going to match your first deposit up to 120%, up to $1,000. So that's free money that you get to play with, free money that you get to kind of throw at some of these parlays and swing for the fences as Joe is right now. He's trying to get back into the plus side of things, but it only takes one hit to get kind of back on the right side of things. But with BetDSI, they're gonna hook you up 120% first deposit match up to $1,000. Make sure that you support them. It's a great platform. They've been around for over 25 years, and they're one of the trusted leaders in sports betting. So betdsi.eu, use promo code HTAG, and support the people who support these shows here over at the Hashtag Network.
Yeah, absolutely, and they do a great job. Just the other day, I was looking. Because this is how much of a problem I have. This is honestly, so yesterday I was just looking, I was like a little before 9 o'clock, and I saw Flyers played Edmonton, the Oilers, at 9. And I was like, okay. So I put, and it's funny because hockey just started, so you're not really paying attention to trends in hockey after 3 games. But I picked Edmonton because Edmonton, and here they were 0-3 to start the season. I was like, oh, pulled out in overtime though, so I was really happy. They got down 2-0 in the first period. I was like, great job, Joe. Yeah, pat yourself on the back again. Speaking of making dumb bets, I think this is the 3rd week in a row where my lock pick has had a anytime touchdown by a quarterback. So not the smartest way to play it. I really like my first 2 bets, though. Kenneth Walker over 55.5 yards. I think Seattle's going to try to run the ball a lot in that game. And we'll get into this with your one bet, but we both like Bijan Robinson in his game as well. I think that, again, the Falcons try to run the ball and control tempo in that one. Jane Daniels, listen, I was looking at the Washington Commanders game. Panthers really bad against the run, and you look at who Washington's going to run with, and you're like, are they really going to run with help me out here.
Eckler?
Oh my gosh, yeah, right. Are they really? I was thinking of someone else, but I was like, that's not right. Yeah, are they really going to run the ball? Eckler, who really hasn't seen 20 carries yet this season, so there's no running back at Washington that's seen a whole bunch of carries. You look at Jayden Daniels. Started off the season, I think he had 2 or 3 games in a row with a touchdown. Hasn't had a rushing touchdown last 2 or 3 weeks. He's due. Give me that touchdown there, and give me those 2. I like the Kenneth Walker and Bijan Robinson ones. And yeah, we'll see what those odds are come Sunday. But I really like that. And then I think this one, this one should probably be my lock right here. Again, we talked about George Kittle having a big game against the Kansas City Chiefs, and then Saquon's getting a touchdown against his former team. Like I said that about Stephon Diggs, it didn't happen. But man, if the Eagles do not run the wheels off of Saquon in this game, I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I like both of those parlays that you put together. I think both have a really good chance to hit, and especially that Kittle Barkley touchdown package. I think that's a really good one. So for mine, I'm kind of getting back to what works. I sent a screenshot to Joe of the parlay that hit for me during that Bills game. I'm getting back to what works, and that's these kind of ladder bets here. So Brock Purdy, 225 or more passing yards. He's hit this in every game this season. His lowest yardage total, 231. Kansas City's good. They got a good defense. I think they're going to get a lot of pressure on Brock, so I'm not going to pump this up too much. If you're feeling froggy, I'd be okay taking it at 250 or more. He has hit that in 4 of 6 games this year, so that's not a terrible bet. But again, this Kansas City defense, not super stoked about it, but I think he's going to do enough to get to 225 like he has every game this season. The next leg here, Chris Godwin, 60 or more receiving yards. He's hit this in all but 1 game this season, and the one was against the Broncos. He had 53 yards, so really close to every game this season. Again, we talked about this one. I think Baker's going to chuck the ball all over the field. Godwin, a massive game last week, 111 catches, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. We only needed him for 60 this week. And then the last one, Barkley, man, you just talked about it, right? They're going to feed the beast in this game. Barkley, 80 or more yards. He's hit this in every game, but last week against the Browns, which is a pretty stout rushing defense. So I like him against this Giants defense to get to 80 yards. I think he's going to be the feature back, and Barkley's going to do what he's been doing all season and get to that 80-yard mark. The next one here, my Bills special of the week, as I try to put them together each week for you guys. So we're going to start off with Josh Allen, 225 or more passing yards. Look, regardless of how much Amari Cooper plays, he's going to get a bump from the confidence and the excitement of bringing a guy like him in. I think Khalil Shakir is back at full strength this week. James Cook should be back at almost full strength this week. I think Josh Allen's going to pass the ball 225 or more yards. Hit this last week against the Jets. He's hit this in 3 of 6 games so far that the Bills have played. So I like him there. Dalton Kincaid, 4 or more catches. He's hit this in every game so far this season, except for the Texans game, which kind of got out of hand a little bit. So I like Dalton Kincaid to continue to be the feature pass catcher early in the game, and then they probably go away from him in the second half. But he could have this one in the first quarter. He could have this one in the first 2 drives and be done with it. And the last one, Khalil Shakir. like I said, back at what I think is full strength. He's hit 2 receptions in every game so far this year, even the one last week where he had a limited snap count. He's the go-to security blanket. So pretty easy parlay for this one, I think. Josh Allen, 225 or more. Dalton Kincaid, 4 catches. Khalil Shakir, 4 catches. This could hit at halftime for all we know. This one could be a really quick one.
Yeah, again, and same with you. I really like these bets, especially that Buffalo Bills one there, because I think those all 3 can hit in the first half, and then you just counting your money at that point. So keep moving forward. And again, I don't want you not to be in the black. I just want to catch up a little bit, I want you to win. I want hashtag sports to win. I want hashtag sports. I want someone at hashtag sports to make a 11 leg parlay with all 11 of these and then just be winning by the end of it, right? And then send us a message later on saying, guys, I just retired because of you guys. I'm like, yeah, good for you. Moving on to our regular bets. And again, we're kind of thinking the same way here, right? I talk about Bijan. We both talk about Saquon. You had Brock Purdy. I had George Kittle. Like, we both think along the same lines, and we see it a little bit more as well here. My Alvin Kamara anytime touchdown, the Saints win. That's my Thursday special. You have a Bills special. I have a Thursday special. Got cut off a little bit there, but that's what it says. Alvin Kamara anytime touchdown and plus the Saints to win. Because I think if the Saints are going to win this game, Alvin Kamara needs to have a pretty good game, needs to find himself into the end zone. So if you think the Saints are going to win this game, might as well throw an Alvin Kamara touchdown in there as well, because I think he'll have to have a big game in order for them to win. Joe Burrow, I think Joe Burrow has a big game against the Browns. I know the Browns defense can be really good, but like you talked about earlier, I think these wide receivers for the Bengals, have big games, and that really is what sets them apart. Over 265. Like you, if you're feeling froggy, I wouldn't. If you put this up to 275, I wouldn't be upset about that. 300 is where I think I think it will be a little too much on, because I think we both kind of agree that this game might get out of hand early, in which case I'm not throwing the ball as much. And then Amon St. Brown touchdown for the Detroit Lions. He is getting, it seems like he's getting better and better each week. I think he has 3 straight games with a touchdown right now. So give me him to get in the end zone one more time.
Yeah, so for this one, this is one I'm kind of pressing a little bit on the Jaden Daniels, 250. I'm trying to, that's going to be in plus money, pretty easily. He's only done this twice this season, but the Panthers are the worst team in the league against the pass. Jaden Daniels, last week 269-2, so he had a really solid game against a better defense than what he's going to see on Sunday. I think they turn him loose early and try to get him some continued confidence in the passing game. So I like him for 250 or more passing yards. Next up is Jamar Chase, 80 or more receiving yards. He's done this 3 out of the last 4 games, and the one he didn't hit it, he had 72 yards, so I like him here. You talked about Burrow, who's going to throw the ball all over the field. Guess who he's going to throw the ball to a lot, and that's going to be Jamar Chase, so I like him for 80 or more yards. And the last one, Jared Goff. We talked about this game, Detroit, Minnesota, in the Dome. Going to be a shootout. Goff loves himself a Dome. 250 or more passing yards. He's done this in 3 of his last 4, including 2 of those going to 300 yards or more, and one of them being 292. So when he has hit this number, he's gone way past this number. I think this one's going to be an absolute shootout. It's the highest over-under of the week. I think it hits the over, and I like Jared Goff to throw for 250 or more passing yards in that game.
Yeah, again, it just amazes me. Like, again, you have Jared Goff, I have Amon St. Brown, you have Jamar Chase, I have Joe Burrow. We both have Jaden Daniels having a big day. I have him having a rushing touchdown. You have him having the passing yards. We both have Saquon getting in the end zone, or I have him getting in the end zone. You have 80+ yards, which I think he's going to do both. If you wanted to bang that as a parlay, I could see that hitting again, kind of like you said, in the first half.
Yeah.
I could see them, because even last week, I looked at the stats from last week for Saquon. He had 18 carries, which in today's NFL is a lot, but at the same time, you should have been running him 22, 25. Like, you just keep feeding him the ball, because I don't know if Jalen Hurts has what it takes to get it done. But those are our bets. And again, let us know in the comment section what your bets are this week. What are your parlays? What are your locks? You let us know, and we'll see if they hit. We're hoping that all of ours hit, and the hashtag sports can come out on top, just like they did last week, if they went along with Mr. Perfect over there, Ryan, getting 14-0 straight up. One of us might do it again. And the good thing is, I looked at it. Even if one of us does it, that means the other one's like 12-3 or something like that this week. So it's not like we're not far off from each other. We're both thinking on the same lines, which could be a good thing or could be a very bad thing. But we're going to find out soon. Again, thank you to BetDSI. Thank you to Mr. Rogers Homes, our sponsors for the season. We really appreciate all that they do for #sports so we can continue to provide great content, whether it be during the game, live every single game, after the game, where Ryan joins Mario and Paul for post-game, for your breaking news updates that Paul gives you whenever there's breaking news around our Buffalo Bills, razor sharp picks. We have you covered all week and all season long, so make sure you haven't subscribed. Hit that subscribe button. Ryan, any words before we leave?
Let's make it another solid week, man. We're gonna stay on the positive side of things. I'm gonna try the parlay this week. I'm gonna try the 15 leg. We're gonna see how it lands. Throw a couple bucks at it. Doesn't hurt anything.
Doesn't hurt anything. He wants to go 29-0, and if you do, then I will definitely be using you more often for my bets than I use myself. So for Ryan, for myself, had a great night. Have a great night. Have a great week, and may your bets be prosperous. We'll see you next week till we do. Go Bills.